Brian, and it's nice to be at Manresa again. I was here in September, and it was through the invitation of a friend. I'm in the Gamblers Anonymous program, and compulsive gambler my entire adult life, and major problems throughout my life. And in the program, there are people there that have a great deal of years of sobriety, whatnot is what we call it. And one of the individuals there that has been in the program for many, many years extended an invitation for me to come to Manresa. It sounded like something I was really interested in doing. Is that when I got in the Gamblers Anonymous program, we talk about our higher power and what that means to us. It's the spiritual side of the program. And I didn't really understand what that meant to me. And it was something that I felt like I was searching for and trying to make a connection with, because I knew how important it was going to be in my ability to begin recovery and participate in a recovery program properly. And I felt like I'd turned my back on God over the years. I had all these problems. I had many opportunities to deal with my life differently, and I always sort of neglected every opportunity I had that came about. And so when I got to Manresa, after Mass, when the silent part of the retreat began, I went up to my room and I was so taken by the silence. It was just incredible. I don't remember ever experiencing that kind of silence before. You know, I have 2 teenagers at home and we have a little dog, and it's just, even when it's quiet at home, you hear cars or lawnmower or this or that, and you really don't think about those things so much until you experience something like I experienced here. And just having some time to think and really try and get in tune with why I was here and start praying. And one of the things that was stressed in the orientation was how important it is just to listen and let things come to you. And when I was up in my room that night, I was just, everything started to just sort of come together for me. I prayed a lot, and it started to just sort of click how I wound up where I am. I had initially felt like I was searching for God when I got into the GA program, and that night sitting in my room, it's just all started to kind of come to me that, you know, I was here because God worked through my son to get me into the GA program. And then someone from GA reaches out to me and tells me about the retreat at Manresa. And, you know, there's God working through another messenger. And I wind up at Manresa. Just having the silence and being able to pray and really just listen and not... It's hard to explain the feeling I had, because it was almost a sensation of just sheer joy the whole time. And I'd never experienced that before. And I don't think I even realized what I was experiencing that moment. I just knew everything felt right. And it just... It's one of the first times in my life that I felt where I was right where I needed to be at that very moment. A few times in my life when I went to church, I did not understand the message. I never felt like I belonged where I was at the time. And after the first presentation, or actually after the orientation on Friday night when I went to Mass, it was the same thing. I felt like I belonged. I didn't understand what was going on at the Mass, but that was okay, because it all just, you know, it felt right. And by Saturday morning, everything was just so incredible. I really needed to talk to someone like that and tell them what I'd done. I just felt like I needed to get that out, because I haven't, at that point, I was trying to get all this stuff off of my shoulders and get rid of this weight I was carrying. And when I was able to talk to Father Babcock, it just, I just felt like it was the right thing to do, and he was so great to talk to. Went to the healing service, which was an incredible experience. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. And when that was over,
went down
to the library here, and I sat down in there and I read and I read and I read. But when I looked around, it was so serene in there. It's just a beautiful room, and I just felt like God was everywhere in there, and just the feeling I had when I was reading. I understood everything, and it was so much about me as a person, my life. And I was able to finish that book. Went to my meeting that night, which was great. And when I went upstairs, much as it had been on Friday night, when I sat down on my bed that night, I started thinking about everything that I had experienced through the weekend. And as I thought about all this, it just really became clear to me that, my whole life, my life was about resentment and anger, and my feelings were bottled up. I couldn't think about anything in life other than just myself. Any feelings I had, I just bottled them up, and I was sitting there on Saturday night, thinking about how grateful I was that someone invited me here and what I had experienced, and really feeling like, I can learn to have a relationship with God. It all just started to come together for me that my entire life God was with me. My entire life. And I guess I had to go through everything I have, to finally get to the point where I was able to find God in the way that it was meant to be. And if it weren't for that, why, I wouldn't have made it to Manresa, and I wouldn't be where I am in that moment. And it was really, as I was thinking about all that it became very clear to me that was God working the whole time. And I wasn't searching for God. God was leading me to Him. And that's just the way that it worked out, because I couldn't find my way on my own. And it was my time to be there. And it's just an overwhelming sense that I had finally gotten to the place where I needed to be an ordinary person in life. That instead of resentment and anger, now I can, I can, it's okay to have hope, and it's gratitude is, that's, I'll replace the resentment and anger with that, because just be thankful for everything I've got. It was meant to be. And sitting there that night, it just was so clear to me that, when I get up off of this bed and I walk away from here, I'm walking with God by my side. I'm going to live God's will.